welcome to the program this lovely evening. Eid Mubarak to our Muslim, I beg your pardon, our Muslim brothers and sisters all across the world. May the end of Ramadan signal the beginning of renewed and closer ties to the Almighty and the good of all. In the spirit of celebrations, I hope my guests for tonight will, while reeling in the euphoria of election victory, of course, are mindful of the task that lies ahead of them as elected public officials. And we will be talking about just how prepared they are for the task ahead. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. Welcome to The Mandate. It will seem that with the conclusion of the 2023 general elections, the All Progressives Congress has succeeded in strengthening its presence in Akwa Ibom State. For the first time in the state's political history, I mean, it is a southern state, the dominance of the People's Democratic Party, that is the PDP, appears to have slightly shifted, with the All Progressives Congress winning senatorial and House of Representatives seats. I'll tell you about someone that I have here tonight, a state surveyor who turned politician, and now, I mean, winner of the Abuja-Timekpo-Ika federal constituency election, and is now a member-elect, Clement, Jimbo. He joins me tonight to discuss the trust, the mandate, and expectations of his constituents following his victory at the supplementary elections of April 15. Welcome to The Mandate. Congratulations on your win, by the way.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Did I catch you sleeping, napping there? You know, when I introduced you, you seemed a bit laid back. Maybe you didn't catch that, but it's good to have you here.
I was not sleeping. Yeah, fully awake.
Okay, great, fantastic. So let's begin our conversation with your promise to work in the interest of your constituents, and I mean, you know, your constituents in your federal constituency, Akwa Ibom State. And you also said you would make laws that would uplift the living standard of the people and good governance in the country. You made this promise in Uyo. If I recall correctly, it was at the time you were at the home of former state governor Godswill Akpabio, when you were responding to your supporters who gathered there to celebrate the victory. But then my question to you is, what does this level of public service, I mean, at this stage, what does it translate to for an entrepreneur like yourself?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Nigerians, and good evening, everybody watching us from Abuja here.
No, not Abuja, all across the country,
All
around
over
the world.
Thank you very much.
Largest network in Africa.
You can say that again.
You know, I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to be here in the first place, and I must appreciate the NTA for this wonderful opportunity. Yes, back to your question about what I'm having in store for my people, the people of Abak, Ika, and Etimekbo Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. I recall in 2018, I was actually in Abuja as at that time, and it occurred to me that the private sector, the micro sector, the macro sector, where a lot of our youth, young people, carry out some businesses that sustain their different livelihood, is actually sustained by the availability of power. By power, I'm talking about electricity. And without which, that makes life for them very difficult. For example, the person that is manning a barbing salon shop, an hairdressing salon shop, a welder, and all that, without the availability of electricity, it is practically impossible for these people to have things going for them. And I look at the current power structure in Nigeria, which is domiciled in the exclusive list of the federal government. I began to ask myself, isn't it possible for power to be delisted from the exclusive list of the federal government and placed on the concurrent list? By so doing, it will enable and empower the subnationals, which is the state government.
Yes, but
not
that,
just
that
to-
has happened now. You know that.
Yes, I know. I'm coming to that. Yes,
Okay.
not
I
just
just wanted to
not
point out,
not
yeah.
just to generate electricity, but equally to transmit and distribute.
Distribute.
I'm saying this now to bring it to everybody that has been my brainchild. That's why I make reference to 2018. So for months back, the president deemed it necessary to sign that into law. But even at then, it is only delegated to some sections in the state. It hasn't been given, state has not been given the power to generate, transmit, and distribute across board in their different local government area, which we are equally going to look into that. So that is a very good step in the right direction for the current administration. And of course, people in the 10th Assembly, which I'm going to be an integral part, will equally look into it and see how we can expand and bring it to a holistic conclusion in that area.
So
that is number one.
Okay, before you go to number two, let me help you backtrack a bit, because of course I like that you've jumped into the thick of our conversation, which is what you will do for your constituents.
Yes.
And by your constituents, I mean Nigerians, at large, because Nigeria, of course, as a federal lawmaker, the entire Nigeria becomes your constituency. But I wanted you to begin by laying, doing the groundwork and laying the basis for what representation to you, means to you at this level. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm not sure that you have held public office before. If I'm not mistaken, have you ever held public office in the past?
Yes, I have. I have been occupying the highest office of the land, which is the office of the citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
You were not elected to be a citizen. You were born. You were born to be a citizen.
So, I agree with you.
You were born to be a citizen of this country. So that's not holding a public office. I just wanted you to having translated now from holding the office of citizen to now gaining the people's trust and gaining these mandates. I wanted you to give me a sense of where your head is at this time. What it means to you, gaining the trust of your people and, your people entrusting you with this task to provide them with quality representation. What does that, mean to you? Winning an election of this magnitude.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, throughout my electioneering processes, we ran on a tripod. First, we let the people to know that we are going to give them effective representation. And by effective representation, let me just list them out. We'll come back to expatiate on them.
Sure.
The second was a responsible leadership. Fine and good, we saw that it was equally lacking in my federal constituency: effective representation, responsible leadership. And the third one is shared prosperity. Let's go back to the first one, effective representation. I recall when the PIB was passed into law, the Petroleum Industrial Bill was passed into law. That law is, having been in the National Assembly for close to 19-20 years, I was eager to know the content of the law. I eager to know from my representative, to know, but it wasn't forthcoming. We asked questions from him. It wasn't forthcoming. I said, so then what? This is part of why you are there. What is happening in the green chamber, in the red chamber, is what you should bring it to the constituent and brief us and solicit for our input, and let us equally tell you what and how we can fit in, and then you tell us how we can take advantage of some of these laws that have been passed, or act that has been passed into law. But that wasn't forthcoming. I said, okay, so in that case, there is what is called effective representation that is lacking on his part. Let me capitalize on that, and that is what I'm going to do differently for our people. Then secondly, we talked about responsible leadership. Many a times you hear people complain on social media. I have been wrongly accused of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have been wrongly relieved of my work from where I'm working. I'm passing through this, I'm passing through that. Part of why you are there is to look at this matter if it falls within your constituency, to address it at your level. Because if somebody complains, to a particular person, maybe a minister or office of a minister, if you step in as a representative of that constituent to address that matter, it carries weight. So that is a responsible leadership I'm talking about, which we are equally going to leverage on the lacking of this very person that has not been doing so much in that respect. Then we talked about shared prosperity. I read the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are all called citizens. There is no higher class, no middle class, no second class citizen. We are all rated equal by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. By that, it confers on us some level of responsibility, and there are some things that we must naturally enjoy at the minimum level. I call them irreducible minimum. Of course, right to shelter is there, right to education is there, right to good living is there, right to medical care is there, right to so many things are there. So as a representative of the people, we will also make sure that the people that we are representing have access to these basic things, which are not luxury. So those are the three things my constituents should be looking forward to.
I don't know if this is a function of, if this will be a function, it definitely will be a function of time, you know, giving attention. Maybe it would also be a function of your pocket as well. Because, and I'm talking about when you keep mentioning responsibility, responsiveness. You know, these are keywords for me. And you are known to say things like, it is one thing to hold a position, but it is another thing to be in a life to the responsibilities of that position.
That's
These
right.
are your words.
Exactly.
Actually, I gleaned these up from your own
Completely.
website.
It's
So
my
I want you
coinage.
to, yes. So I want you to give me an idea when you talk in terms of responsiveness, in terms of, remember I did say this will be a function of time, you know, that you have to give to your constituents. A function of responsiveness could also be a function of how you tackle some of their issue. Maybe not give it time, maybe give it some, resolve some of the issues from your pockets. I don't know how that will be, but tell me and give me an example of what you mean in terms of being alive to such responsibilities, you know, and not having a bloated sense of self-importance. And I know you understand what I mean totally like that. Some people get to Abuja and then they just get this sense of self-importance, and then they forget that somewhere in Abak, Etimepo and Eka Federal Constituency, there were people that they made promises to, and suddenly they are landlords in Abuja, and then they forget all that they promised.
That is exactly what I meant by that statement that you've just read. I'm going to read it. He said, the beauty of the position of leadership is in being alive to the responsibilities of that position. It is one thing for one to canvass for vote to be elected. Let's use, for example, the position of the president. But embedded in that positions are responsibilities that the occupier of that position must live it out daily. It is not a monthly routine. It's not a yearly routine. It's a daily routine. Responsibilities that you must live up to the citizen. So that is exactly what I mean. I'm happy you've just said not coming to Abuja and have this over-bloated ego that becoming a landlord here, then leaving your constituent. By the grace of God, I've been in Abuja as far back as 1999. I've been off and on, of course, based on my routine, my work schedule. So coming to Abuja to represent the people from here would not be a very big deal, because I've seen the Asu Rock quite a number of times. At least I can count almost all the roundabouts here, even though they are so identical. So that is not even the point. That is the point. So the coinage came out of conviction that it is indeed important for one to hold a position and equally live out the responsibilities of the position. For example, you are here interviewing me. Before you are appointed to sit here, there are responsibilities that has been outlined for you to sit here and discharge, failure within which you'll be kicked out. So it's the same thing. And of course, the constituent, my constituent is a very illiterate constituent. They know how to recall a member who hasn't performed well, and that's exactly what's happened. If the former member who is about going out now has performed excellently well, there wouldn't have been need for me to be asked to represent him now, because whether he likes it or not, I'm the one representing him. So that is the point. The point we are making. People must be able to live up to their biddings, live up to the responsibility. You have bidded for this job. You have been awarded this job. For crying out loud, move to site, engage human and materials and labor to get the job done, and on record time. So that is what we are talking about.
And of course, you do also realize that you are accountable to the people, and that the people, the same people who voted you in, will be, the quality check on your operations, will be the ombudsman to determine, of course, you've made reference to that already, to determine as to whether or not you're really doing what you promised to do. I mean, it's a good thing, and I like how vibrant you sound. I mean, it's not just in sounding vibrant, it's to go into that green chambers, or which one is the red or the green?
It is a green.
The green is the lower legislative house. Thank you for clearing that out. Interestingly, and I noticed how you wanted to use the presidency as an example. I know you aspired at some point for the presidency, and then you shifted gear to the Senate. From the Senate, you shifted gear to the House of Representatives. You've been shifting gear downward, from the big one to the small one. I'm not saying House of Representatives is small, though. Me, I'm just a simple presenter in the studio. I'm not even thought about aiming for local government council, talk less about House of Reps. But what I need you to do, and is not to talk about what transpired and made you shift all of these your aspirations down. I want you, and I know you had a blueprint at the time. I did see your blueprint. And I wonder if the projects and blueprints that you had outlined at the time align with some of the plans that you have at this point when you've become when you become member-elect, for the National Assembly. I wonder if you can, in terms of similarity in plans, knowing that most of the plans, that you initially drew were majorly issues on the exclusive, legislative list anyways. How easy will it be for you now, as a federal lawmaker, to still work towards rewriting wrong policies and correct wrong impressions through intelligent leadership decisions and conscious leadership decision implementation? Are you surprised that these are your words?
No, I'm not surprised.
Okay, so
that is why there's actually nothing you pull out from my page that
so I am throwing your own words back at you.
And what we've just pulled out, if you check, is between 2019 2020. I did all that. Yes, it is indeed true. It was in 2018 I conceived this idea, and that was because something happened in 2014. I was working here in Abuja. If you recall, 2014 is Dr. Ebele Goodluck Jonathan was the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And he did something fantastic by instructing the then Minister of Interior, Honorable Abba Muru, to recruit Nigerians into the immigration service, which was a fantastic thing. I mean, effort to reduce the unemployment rate, as at that time that was rated at about 23%. And I don't know whether due to hindsight or by coincidence, they made a very terrible mistake by recruiting Nigerians simultaneously across the 36 states, including FCT. And Abuja Stadium, like you know, it was built to house 60,000 human beings. And due to the nature of how some of us, many Nigerians, act by not queuing, not obeying simple rules. Okay, let's move one after the other into the stadium. They all crowded the place. And as a result of that, there were a lot of stampeding. People died, lost their limbs. People became amputated. People couldn't live a normal life. I sat where I was sitting in my office watching the gory pictures being reeled out from one of these television stations. I asked myself a simple question. Is this the best we we have in this country. Because to the best of my knowledge, everything rises and falls on the strength of leadership. This was a clear case of leadership failure. And since the only legitimate way to change a bad government, a bad regime, is through the ballot, I made up my mind to equally challenge it, because I wasn't going to throw my hands in fatalistic resignation and allow such things to go to spiral out of control. I made up my mind as a then in 2014 to run for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2019, and we did run. Whether I won or not is immaterial. That is all history now. But whether what the ideals I had as at that time is still in tangent with what I am doing now is similar. It's still leadership. It's still leadership. We are still talking about Nigeria. There is a right kind of leadership posturing that we, the leaders, must put forward there for many of our citizens to just behave. So there is still an alignment.
Okay.
Nothing has changed.
Okay, great. Let me take you now to the 10th National Assembly, take you to the 10th House of Representatives, and I know that parliamentary procedure provides for the rules as regards motions of public importance and those that will be considered as urgent motions. But as a template and products of our current realities, what in your opinion should, or do you think should constitute the makeup of the legislative agenda for the 10th National Assembly, coming from, what we have experienced as a nation in the last couple of years? What issues do you think should be on the table as soon as the House is promulgated in June?
Fantastic. In my own estimation, the 9th Assembly has done a fantastic job, though not completely. The 10th Assembly, I would say, is going to put the icing on the cake. They started talking about restructuring Nigeria. The president gave a presidential bill to grant autonomy to local government, financial autonomy. That is going to be key. I'm going to be very, very forthright in that. Nigeria is ripe to get back to local government financial autonomy. We talked about the legislative autonomy and the judicial autonomy. Those are key things that cannot be glossed over.
And those ones passed.
Has it been passed?
Yeah, those ones passed.
Okay. Local government
did not get the required concurrence from.
That is because some of our state governors are still bent on managing the local government funds, but people will let them know it's not going to be business as usual. And I'm happy for the president that is incoming. That is a president that if he wants things done, he knows how to get it done.
President-elect.
Yes, president-elect. It's just a matter of time. Certainly, I correct that. President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is one man that I believe he knows how to get things done. And so local government financial autonomy must be passed into law, must become a law. My reason is simple. Every month we have 36 governors that come to Abuja and get a share from what everybody contributes, and they get back to their respective state. Instead of giving it to 36 states, why not give it alongside 36 states, 774 local government areas? And by that, you will see the economic activities in the hinterland booming. It will interest you to know that there are still local government areas in Nigeria without a banking facility. I ask myself, why would bank go there when there is no money there? When the article of trade of banks is money. So if the money goes to the local government area, banks will be eager to be there. And by so doing, you see life coming into the hinterland. So that is going to be very strong in the 10th Assembly. I'm not mincing words. So that is, to me, should form the agenda. Should be the agenda.
Local government autonomy.
Yes.
I like
financial autonomy.
Yeah, financial autonomy. I like that you're forceful on that agenda. You somewhat insinuated earlier on as to the state of our federalism. So I want to also suspect that, you might want, when the floor of the House does open and the House formally begins, you might want to throw up the issue of the state of our federalism. But let's also talk generically about the quality of motions and bills, that these are activities that form the bulk of what lawmakers do on the floor of the National Assembly. So let me yet again ask you to prospect on the quality in terms of, now in anticipation of what would eventually happen. These old talk about newbies will be more in the house, the high turnover of old lawmakers. Are you concerned that these might somewhat impact the body of work that the 10th House of Representatives is likely to achieve, as well as the quality as well?
Of course, it's going to impact, but not in the negative, though.
Oh, not in the negative?
No, not in the negative.
It will slow down the House a bit?
No, it will not.
Okay.
It will not. I don't foresee that. You see, the electoral process, for one to go through the entire 9 years and become elected in the Nigerian sense of it is an Herculean tax. And there is no tax that I consider it as difficult as that will surmount the one that you are going to be doing in the House. I mean, it's not. It's not at all. So I don't see newcomers coming into the House. I listened to the Senate President that time. He said about 30% are returning. So
Yes.
if the Constitution did not envisage that even if you are a newbie, that you will not be able to perform the functions of the House. The moment you are elected to represent the people, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has given you the authorities to represent the people, up to the speaker level. So
yes.
It shouldn't be an issue whether you are a first-timer, a returning officer. It's immaterial. All of us are elected equal into the hallowed chambers. So therefore, it is mandated of you to take responsibility based on the position that you have acquired, being elected, to discharge that function from day one. That is it still boils down to the definition of position of responsibility I talked earlier. You must believe up. The standing orders will be handed over to you. What stops you from reading it and understanding it? The Electoral Act is there, the Constitution is there, and these are all public documents which you ought to have read it over and understood before even thinking of vying for that position. So I don't see it as a challenge, and it shouldn't be a challenge, and it will not be a challenge in the 10th Assembly.
Okay, very quickly, if it's possible to answer this in just like 60 seconds or maybe 90 seconds, and this is me rounding off our conversation for tonight. I'd like to end on the notes, by talking a bit about local politics. After all, politics is local, they say.
Yes.
Well, not minding that you will be domiciled in Abuja for most of your first term in the lower legislative chamber, but you will be going to Akwa Ibom from time to time, and
Definitely.
then some of your agenda would also affect the people there. The APC, of course, does appear to have made a statement during the elections, but I wonder how frosty the relationship will remain between the two largest parties in Akwa Ibom. The parties I'm talking about, and whether this is likely to impact on your operations as a lawmaker. Don't you need some sort of collaboration, for instance, with the state government to move some of your own agenda at the National Assembly?
Of course, now, by the grace of God, now that I've been elected to represent the people of Abak-Ika Federal Constituency, I am not representing a political party. I'm not.
So the politics is done?
Yes, no, it's just there. Now, talking about the synergy, of course, in Akwa Ibom State, we have a governor-elect, the person of Pastor Umoino. Of course, we are going to work together.
Great, fantastic. I just wanted to hear that.
So there is that synergy.
My director has just informed me that our time is up. It's been an interesting and fascinating discourse. I mean, I know how time flies. I mean, it's 25 or so minutes, 30 minutes as a matter of fact, that we've been speaking. I'd like to thank you so much, Member-elect Abam Etim Ika Federal Constituency of Akwa Ibom State, Clement Jimbo. He is young, he is spirited, he is definitely energetic. I mean, he's one to watch out for. I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the mandate tonight.
Thank you so very much for having me. I'm grateful. Once again, thank you, the largest television network in Africa, for hosting me.
Anytime. Thank you. You're welcome. And that's it for tonight. We'll come your way again sometime next week, Monday, with a fresh episode of the program, The Mandate. My name is Nnamdi Odipo. I'll see you then.